This episode contains upsetting topics and is not suitable for anybody under the age of 18. Please proceed with caution.
This season of Killers, Cults and Queens is sponsored by RuPaul's Drag Race Match Queen. Solve puzzles, unlock fashions, and snatch that crown. Download from the App Store.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Nikki Druce.
And this is Killers, Cults and Queens.
The podcast where we journey to the spookiest, scariest, and downright weirdest corners of the world.
A body is found inside a locked apartment and a knife is sticking out of her chest. But the police rule it as suicide. Today, we're looking into the mysterious death of Ellen Greenberg. She is not wanting to open up.
Have you ever been on a blind date?
I've been on dates that I thought I was blind on.
My eyes! Once the horse has escaped, why are you bothering to lock the door?
That you can't strangle yourself with your own bare hands.
This is so the wrong way round.
Are you ready?
Oh, it sounds like a twisty one already.
Well, let's go, Nikki Druce. Imagine coming home after just a quick trip to the gym, but when you return, you can't get back in. When you left, your partner was home, and now they're not answering, and you begin to panic and break down the door. But what was hiding inside was baffling and disturbing. A woman stabbed multiple times, but the police said she'd done it to herself. Welcome to Killers, Cults and Queens. But before we dive into today's case, how are you doing after last week's episode, Nikki? Because that was a lot.
Oh, it was quite a tough one, wasn't it? But I haven't actually delved into Mary Vincent's case for quite a while. Sharing it with you, I think, was quite interesting for me because it's a new take on things. So usually when I'm introducing people to Mary Vincent's case, they're kind of already into true crime, but you were coming into it not a true crime novice because you're not, because we've done so much of this now.
We've done 3 years of it.
But it's not your oeuvre, is it? It's not your genre. So I think for me, it's made me really think about Mary and just how much she's been through in her life, and also Roxanne's family as well. I just feel so sorry for everybody involved in that case. Oh, it was so obvious that this guy was going to do this again, and what a miscarriage of justice for those victims. Just terrible things. Don't want to start things off on an awful downer today, but how are you doing? How are you feeling after it all? Because it was a tough one.
Yeah, it was tough, but like we say on this podcast, we have to go there to really open the doors and bring people into our world and shine a light on these horrible cases. But Christ, that was a tough case. And I think that was up there with some of the tough ones like the Anthill kids back in season 1.
I think it's got some of the most shocking imagery in a case that we've covered. But but anyway, I don't want to leave it on a downer for everybody. This is a brand new episode.
No, it's a brand new episode. It's a brand new week. None of us are doing mediocre. We're doing fabulous this time round. But I don't want to say this is another tough case, but it is one that is going to leave a lot of question marks. But luckily, those question marks may be answered soon. And I'll leave you with that for now. But are you ready to dive in?
Oh, go on then. I've pushed my sleeves up, ready to go. I'll have a sip of my coffee and off we go.
Off we go. Now, today's story is incredibly baffling. It's a case which treads the line of being maddening and includes more gaslighting than I've ever encountered before in a drag queen dressing room. And trust me, there's a lot that goes on in there. But before we dive in, please be aware that this case contains discussion of some alleged domestic abuse, suicide, and injury detail which pertains to the case. So if that's not for you right now, please check out a spooky sleepover or one of our lighter episodes instead. So let's set the scene. The snow is falling softly outside an apartment building in Philadelphia. For the residents inside, the evening is unfolding as normal. People are coming home from work, cooking dinner, and settling down for the night. But behind the door of the apartment 603 on the 6th floor of the Manor Young apartment, something horrific had happened. A resident of this particular apartment tried to get back into his flat. He struggled with the door. After a while of banging on the door, texting his partner who was inside and hearing nothing, he resorted to breaking down the door. Once inside, he found a disturbing sight. He had found his girlfriend lifeless on the kitchen floor, surrounded by blood. When the operator asked the man to start delivering CPR, he said he couldn't, as there was a knife sticking out of her chest. But when police arrived a short while after the call was placed, things became even more confusing. They said this must have been suicide, despite there being multiple stab wounds. So what happened to make the police believe that this victim, Ellen Greenberg, had taken her own life, and how 14 years later has this case still got huge question marks dangling over it? Let's find out.
Wowee, what a start that is. So the door's locked.
Mm-hmm.
He's come back from the gym, not being able to get inside. But then when he does get in, he's found her dead on the floor. Is that right?
Yes. And not just dead, stabbed multiple times.
Wow.
We can rule out cardiac arrest. We can rule out stuff like that. This was a death by stabbing.
Yeah, being stabbed multiple times or stabbing yourself multiple times. Wow. Okay, all right. This is already ridiculously twisty-turny.
It's a fascinating case, and it was actually brought to us by a listener by the name of Hayden.
Oh, he has to get his credits now. He's got to get his credits.
After that spooky sleepover where I got in trouble, he had to get his flowers. And he presented this to me, and I got so invested into it because I couldn't believe where this went. And I just thought it was perfect to cover on this show. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, we have to start with some up-to-date news. Now, this case has suddenly come back into the spotlight as there is currently a hearing underway at time of writing this. So we're hoping to have a finalisation of this case in the following weeks. However, court timings can sometimes be a little loosey-goosey, but should we have information for you, we'll give you an update in this Friday's Spooky Sleepover. However, this case is nothing new. It is from way back in 2011. Now, what were you up to in 2011, Nikki?
I have no idea. Existing on the planet somewhere, what I was doing, I do not know. Probably just working and living for the weekend, I reckon.
Oh, well, I can't wait for the weekend to begin. I remember 2011 very vividly, specifically October, because I had just turned 18. We Found Love was pumping in the clubs. I was living it up on the podium in Chicago's Chelmsford. It was just an exhilarating time for me, you know?
Oh, I literally cannot remember a shred of what happened to me in 2011.
Maybe the vodka was flowing that much that you don't even remember.
I think that's probably the case. Yeah, definitely living for the weekend. Definitely living for the weekend.
Well, let's take a look at the key players in this case. Ellen Greenberg was born on June 23rd in 1983 in New York to Sandra and Joshua Greenberg, who both worked in the dentist industry. She was an only child and a very bright one as well. She and her parents had a close relationship and were in almost daily contact with each other, particularly Ellen with her mother Sandra. She was a keen tennis player at high school and did well, was liked by her roommate at university, even though she was incredibly tidy to the point of it being a little overwhelming to share a room with her. Ellen went to Penn State University where she studied communications, earning her degree. She then decided to go into teaching and so studied further at Chestnut Hill College and Temple University to gain her teaching credentials. Now, there's not been a hell of a lot reported about Ellen's life, and to be fair, she was 27 when she died. So I'm sure most of us at 27 didn't have a lot to fill out the old backstory. But what we do know is that she somehow ended up living in Philadelphia. Ellen was single and looking for love, and she was set up on a blind date by a mutual friend with a man named Sam Goldberg in 2007. He was a year older than her at 25, a sports producer in TV, mainly focusing on golf tournaments, and the two hit it off. Ellen would fly to go and see him when he was working, and things progressed to where they moved in with each other very swiftly. Now, something we have to bear in mind is because this case has been in and out of the courts, and the case is in a jurisdiction which is tightly controlled regulations, the records aren't available for public consumption. So we have to piece together a picture from what we have available, and that doesn't contain finer details. So Sam and Ellen were sharing an apartment in Manayunk. They were engaged. Ellen had just bought her wedding dress, and their wedding date had been set, August the 13th, 2011. But sadly, Ellen would never live to see it.
Oh, that's heartbreaking, isn't it? But we've already gone through quite a lot of life changes here, haven't we? So they've met each other on a blind date, which is interesting. Have you ever been on a blind date?
I can't say I have been on a blind date. I've been on dates that I thought I was blind on because I was like, who are you?
My eyes!
No, that's very me. No, all I'm saying is some people do love a bit of the face app and the face tune.
Yeah. And then when you see people in real life, you're like, oh, that's actually what you look like. Wow. Okay.
I wasn't on Blind
Date.
Date, the TV show. I was on Catfish.
Yeah, I've never been on a blind date. I just don't think I could do it. I'm not superficial, but I kind of feel like there has to be just a little bit of attraction beforehand. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know. It's just not for me. Just not for me. But yeah, we've already been through quite a lot of life changes there. So they got together in 2007 and now they're living together in 2011. So that seems like a reasonable time frame, doesn't it? And she's just moved to Philadelphia, but we don't know why.
The details of her move are unknown. It just all happened very swiftly once they started getting together, that she moved to Philadelphia. Then they moved in together. They got engaged. Everything was going hunky-dory, moving very swiftly towards this wedding date.
So the reason she ended up in Philadelphia was because of Sam.
Yes, that's where he was based, and that's where his work was. As much as he travelled for work to places for the golf tournaments, the base was always in Philadelphia.
I see. I get it now. Okie dokie. We can move on.
Ellen's parents had retired to Florida, which made them physically distant, but they were frequently in touch with each other on the phone, with Ellen usually starting her day by calling her mother. On the days she was at school, she shared her struggles with the children she tutored. The school she worked at was in an area of Philadelphia which was struggling, and the kids that came to the school were byproducts of their situations. In January of 2011, it seemed the work was getting to Ellen, and she confided in her father. He suggested she get some professional help to talk things through, a sensible and caring decision made by her dad, and so she began speaking to psychiatrist Dr. Ellen Behrman, another Ellen.
Two Ellens in one room.
Panic not, I'm going to refer to her as Dr. Behrman from now on.
Okay.
Dr. Behrman made notes about their visits, and in their sessions they discussed work, home life, her general life. Ellen said she was anxious and not sleeping. She wanted to quit her job, but her mother and fiancé didn't want her to. She was also asked if she was suicidal, to which she said she wasn't. In discussions about her home life, Ellen spoke well about Sam and didn't mention anything that would cause concern for Dr. Behrman. Towards the end of the month, and on a new medication, clonazepam, also known by its brand name, Klonopin, which Dr. Behrman had prescribed to Ellen to treat her anxiety disorder, she reported in another session that she was feeling way better, 75% better, but that her compulsive tidiness had returned. Now, 3 days later, on the 22nd of January, Ellen went to see one of her friends. Her friend had asked her to be a bridesmaid at her wedding, and this was the day to be trying dresses on. The friend said that when Ellen arrived, she didn't seem her usual self. Firstly, Ellen was known for being proud of her appearance. She had stunning long dark brunette hair, usually a tan, and her teeth were perfect, thanks to the dentist's parents. But on this day, Ellen showed up looking less than her usual put-together self. Her hair was not in her usual bouncy blowout style, and she was plain-faced. Now, I'm not saying in any way to shame Ellen, because we all have those days where we can't be bothered. And trust me, when you do what I do for a living, you revel in the days that you don't have to have the glam on. But Ellen was not this way. And she was always making the effort, and something was definitely off.
Oh, I totally get it, because sometimes you just cannot be bothered, and it doesn't matter what you're going to. I'm getting there, but that's all you're getting. I can totally understand that. And, you know, sometimes when, and I'm not saying this is to do with Ellen's mental health, but if you are not feeling 100% and things are a little bit tricky in the old brain box, it's very easy to let that fall by the wayside. So, but she turned up and she was there. It makes me feel sad that she was sad for that, because it feels like something that should have been really joyful.
But I feel that energy, and as somebody that has had peaks and troughs with their own mental health, I know firsthand those days where you just literally have to fight through everything just to turn up. Even though you're struggling, if I've made a commitment, I'm turning up and I'm turning out. That very much comes across of Ellen's mindset on this day. And it is so commendable, because whatever life is throwing at you, she is still turning up for her friend, no matter what state she is at. But it is concerning that she is not wanting to open up. Ellen was very tearful that day, and when she asked what was wrong, she just shrugged it off. Ellen's friend would later go on to say that she thought it was to do with her relationship with Sam. However, to counteract that, Ellen's family said that everything was okay with her relationship. She was still actively wedding planning and excited to get hitched. But she had mentioned wanting to move back home for a bit, and she said it was to do with work and not Sam. Before this, at the end of 2010, she had texted her mum saying, "I want to leave this place. Get me out."
Oh, okay. That's a bit of a warning sign, isn't it?
It is a big red flag.
And we don't know what the place means. She could mean work, she could mean home, so we don't know what she's saying there.
She could mean Philadelphia, period.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to leave this place, get me out. That is pretty strong words, isn't it?
And especially for somebody that has openly said, look, this work is tough. This city is tough. What these kids are going through. Like I said, these children are a byproduct of their surroundings and their circumstances, so they cannot help it. So that downtrodden attitude and not being supported in the education system, of course it's going to be tough, and of course she's going to struggle. So maybe that was her breaking point, but the warning signs are there.
Yeah, they definitely are. Poor Ellen.
Unbeknownst to her parents, Ellen had also contacted her cousin, who was also living in Philadelphia, to ask if she could move in for a while. When the cousin asked if Sam would be joining her, she didn't respond.
If I was asking to move in with somebody, I would have said, oh, it'll be me and my other half. I wouldn't say, oh, it's just me. So I wonder what's going on there. Maybe she's trying to work out what her options are. But I think if somebody asked me, I would definitely say. But mysterious.
So it's now the 26th of January in the year 2011, and Philadelphia had been battered by snowstorms for the past few days. The snow is rising and people are battening down the hatches, ready to wait for it to blow over. The city is slow right now, and the snow blankets every surface it touches, and the residents get ready to wait it out at home. Now, have you been anywhere where a snowstorm has literally just come in out of the blue?
No, only at home when you get weeks of warning before there's going to be bad snow. And here we freak out about 2.5 inches when we really shouldn't. So we cope with snow very badly in this country.
I was in Chicago back in 2022, and I had never, ever seen snow like it. It literally came in. I blinked. I looked out my hotel room window and I was leaving for the airport. I was leaving to fly back home. And I was like, dear God, I am going to be stranded in O'Hare International Airport because none of us are going to be able to leave. None of us are going to be able to drive. And they were like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. And I was like, right. I'm literally in the car, in the SUV, holding on to dear life because I'm literally like, are we going to make it? Is this going to be the end of Shezzy? But 3 years later, I'm still here to tell the tale of the snowstorm of Chicago. But when I filmed Canada versus the World, every other day, it bloody snowed. It was like minus 17 outside. So I feel like now I can achieve anything in snow after living in Canada for a month.
You got your snowshoes on, your tennis rackets tied to your feet, off you go.
Literally, it's like I live in Alaska.
You got your sled dogs, train up Bosley. But before we head into the next part of the story, I want to tell you about the thing that has helped me produce this very episode you're listening to right now, and that is London Nootropics. I've packed Shez off to Gran Canaria with a few sachets in her hand luggage, and she's so excited to give them a go. But I thought I'd let you know why I asked these guys to sponsor us, not the other way round, because I'm a real convert to this amazing drink. This is honestly pretty much the only coffee I drink nowadays, and there's a good reason for it. It really is incredible. It's packed full of mushroom goodness that will tailor your day to exactly what you need. I love all their blends as they're so specific to what you need throughout the day. Mojo will get you up and going, Flow will get you tapped in and able to focus all day, and Zen will help calm your brain so you can switch off at the end of a busy workday. But their newest blend, which has been made in conjunction with Fantastic Fungi, the people responsible for that amazing Netflix doc, has so many high quality mushroom extracts packed in it, it has become my go-to way to start my day. With chaga, cordyceps and lion's mane, it's got all the heavy hitters in there, and let me tell you, these do incredible things. Chaga is great for the immune system, so it's worth getting on it before cold season hits. Cordyceps are great for heart health and managing stress. So if you want to find your balance and start your mushroom journey, then make sure you head to londonnootropics.com. Let me spell that for you. That's LONDONNOOTROPICS.com and use the discount code KILLERS, that's KILLERS, at checkout for 20% off your order. I personally have a subscription myself, as you get an extra discount on top that way, and you can cancel anytime, but you're not going to want to, because believe me, this is a long-term relationship because you're going to fall in love. As you may have guessed, I absolutely love this company and I just want you to get the best for yourself. So why not give it a go and let us know how you get on. Right, time to get back to the story.
It's been a snowy few days in Manayunk, and the residents of the Venice apartments in Philadelphia, along with the rest of the city, have been told to stay home and batten down the hatches. Ellen Greenberg and Sam Goldberg, an engaged couple who are planning their upcoming wedding, are sticking to the rules and have no other option than to stay home. Sam leaves the apartment to go work out in the gym complex inside the building, but when he returns about 45 minutes later, he tries to open the door, but cannot get in. When he left the apartment at 4:45 p.m., Ellen was inside, but now the door is locked from the inside, and try as he might, he cannot get through the door. He calls Ellen on her mobile phone, tries texting her, even emailing her. The texts read as follows. Hello. Open the door. What are you doing? I'm getting pissed. Hello. You better have an excuse. What the fuck? Ah. You have no idea. Now, these texts are all sent between 5:30 p.m. and 5:42 p.m.
Okay, so he's come back, can't get in,
Mm-hmm.
and so he's texting her, and she's not picking up her phone, and he's tried calling her. So the nature of the texts is strange.
Very aggressive,
Very aggressive.
very confrontational.
Mm-hmm. Because if somebody texts me to say, you better have an excuse, I wouldn't be happy with that text. I really wouldn't be.
Imagine you had been so violently sick and you couldn't reach your phone.
Or slipped and fell and you can't get up. There could have been all sorts of reasons why she couldn't get to the door, but you better have an excuse. And then you can tell he's getting really angry after that. That's when it seems to escalate. Okay, that's a little red flag to me. Actually, quite a big red flag to me.
So Sam then heads downstairs to the lobby to speak to the security guard after calling his cousin, Kamian Schwartzman, to let him know what was happening and suggesting he go and ask for help, as you naturally would do. Downstairs, Sam asks the doorman, Phil Hanton, to help him break in as he can't get in and explains that Ellen is in there. Phil says he's not allowed to do that, but he does call Ellen's phone 2 times, but no one answers. Sam goes back upstairs. Neighbours report they heard him shouting Ellen's name in the corridor outside the apartment. He then calls his cousin again and says that he's going to break down the door. He stays on the phone whilst he's doing so, and his cousin says that he heard him let out a scream once he managed to get inside. Kamian says that he should call 911, and he does. Now, for legal and copyright reasons, we can't play that call, but it is out there in its entirety to listen to, and it is a very difficult listen, but it does add something to the information. So if you can go and listen, do go look it up. However, to summarize the situation, Sam calls 911 and they promise to get him help if he calms down as he is audibly distressed on the phone. He cooperates with the dispatch caller and he describes that Ellen is in the kitchen on the floor and there is blood everywhere. He says that she is on her back and isn't breathing. He thinks she hit her head. The dispatch caller asks if Sam knows how to do CPR, and he says no. They ask if he can try, and he says, "I'll guess I have to, right?"
Okay, that's not the response I would have had in that situation, but all right.
Then Sam tries to take off her shirt as instructed to do CPR, but he exclaims loudly, "Oh my God, she stabbed herself." The dispatch then asks where. She says she fell on a knife. There's a knife sticking out. The dispatch says, what? He says there is a knife sticking out of her heart. The dispatch says, "Oh, she stabbed herself?" He says, "Oh, I guess so. I don't know if she fell on it."
That's all very specific, isn't it? She fell on a knife. There's a knife sticking out. How would you know that somebody's fallen on a knife?
I can't speak on a situation because I've never had to call 999 or 911 in a situation like that, especially for somebody that is so near and dear to me. I can't speak on how I would be responding, the answers I would be giving, because we all deal with situations and in essence grief, because you are dealing with somebody that has passed right in front of you. So in essence, you are going through the motions of grief without even realizing it. But there is something a little knowing about these answers that doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, just the fact that it's sticking out of her heart. That's so specific to say, isn't it?
Fallen on it.
Fallen on it and it's sticking out of her heart. Maybe he's using medical terms because he's on the phone to the dispatch, so that feels like what he should be saying. But it's in her heart. Okay, strange.
Well, there's a little bit more back and forth between them. Then the paramedics arrive on the scene just 3 minutes after the call has ended and make their way to the apartment, where they quickly confirm that 27-year-old Ellen Greenberg has passed away. They found Ellen in the corner of the kitchen on the floor, her back against the kitchen cabinets and the serrated knife plunged 4 inches deep into her chest. They say she is cold and the blood is coagulated around her. So Sam has been in the apartment just 3 minutes earlier and had said that Ellen was warm.
So did he say that she was warm on the 911 call?
Yes, he did. I believe he thought it was a very recent turn of events.
Okay.
But it does take a while for a body to turn cold, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so if the paramedics are reporting that she's cold and he said that she was warm, that poses questions around the time of her death, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Curiouser and curiouser.
Well, at 7:30 p.m., Camion and James Schwartzman, Sam's cousin and uncle, the ones he called when he was trying to get into the apartment, both arrived at the scene. Now, I've not mentioned this yet, but both Camion and James are both professionals working in law. Camion is a lawyer and James a judge who was quite high up in the state of Pennsylvania, so they've arrived to help Sam. Sam is handcuffed and taken to the police station, but the police investigation rules this as a suicide, and Ellen's body is then sent for a post-mortem. That seems a little bit of the wrong way around for me, but have you heard of that series of events happening before, Nikki?
It seems a little like, what's the phrase? Locking the door after the horse has bolted? Is that right?
I have never in my life heard that saying.
Once the horse has escaped, why are you bothering to lock the door? That kind of thing. Yes, so if you're ruling this a suicide before the post-mortem has already been done, you've already made up your mind on that. The line has been drawn. So what's the point of doing a post-mortem? Because surely that's there to investigate what has happened with the death. That's not how police investigations work and how medical examinations work. At least in my experience of true crime podcasting, that is the first time I've ever heard that a ruling on a case has happened before a post-mortem has been carried out. Strange. Very strange.
Well, when Ellen's body is autopsied, the medical examiner rules this as a homicide.
Well, there we go. So the post-mortem was definitely needed, because if the medical examiner has said that this is a homicide, then that changes things entirely, doesn't it? Well, this already seems like they don't know what they're doing. Poor Ellen and her family. That's awful.
27-year-old Ellen Greenberg was found dead in her apartment, the door locked from the inside, having been stabbed multiple times, and now her autopsy is underway. The following day, the Schwartzmans ask if they can have access to Sam's belongings inside the apartment because they need to get a suit for him to attend Ellen's funeral. Now, Ellen was Jewish, so it's very common in the Jewish faith to try and have a funeral around 24 hours after the person has passed away. So they asked the property manager, Melissa Ware, to go into the apartment. Melissa decides to double check that this is actually okay with the police, and they say yes, as the death has been ruled as a suicide, and so the apartment isn't an active crime scene. They provide Melissa with a phone number for a crime scene cleaning company to make sure the apartment is cleaned. Now, let's remember that the autopsy of Ellen Greenberg is still being carried out at this time.
Wowee. That is really not the right way round to do things, is it? Well, good job she bothered to call them, because the Schwartzmans have said she can go into the apartment, but it's a good job that she had an idea to actually call the police, because what if she'd gone in there and then left her prints over everything? That would have been awful and a terrible way to treat a crime scene. So it's really interesting that this has already been instantly ruled a suicide, and that's it. They don't want to have anything more to do with it. Meanwhile, poor Ellen is laid out having her post-mortem, and they haven't even had the report from that yet.
No.
This is so the wrong way round. So the wrong way round.
They're cleaning already before her body has even been finished.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. I've never heard of other people being involved and them basically saying that, oh, well, this isn't a crime scene anymore, so therefore you can clean this now. Poor woman as well, having to go in, and it would have still had blood, everything in there as it was when it was left. Poor Melissa. Wow, okay. This is all very, very bizarre and odd to me, and just none of it seems like the right way round.
After confirming the apartment had been cleaned, James Schwartzman comes to the apartment to collect the suit. But that is not all he takes. He also takes Ellen's handbag, her laptop, and also her mobile phone. We don't know why he takes these, but the following day, the police gain a search warrant to take some items. Among these items, a serrated knife. We don't know if this was the knife found in Ellen's chest. A towel Ellen had in her hand when Sam found her, with barely any blood on it. They also took some blood samples as well. Now, the search warrant was executed because of an investigation into a homicide. So this all just seems very muddled. We do know that the laptop and mobile phone were also handed over to the police after being with James Schwartzman for around 24 hours.
So again, we've now got evidence from the crime scene that isn't a crime scene going with a family member who was taken to the police station by the homicide unit. So that is interesting, very interesting. And I don't know what you would want with those things. Maybe they were just taking them for safekeeping. Maybe they were worried about Ellen's belongings getting lost during all of this. But yes, that seems quite strange to me.
A couple of things to note from the day of Ellen's death and from the scene afterwards. Ellen had filled her petrol tank up in her car. When she was found by Sam, there was evidence of food having been prepared. Some blueberries on the countertop in a bowl and some freshly cut oranges. Ellen was also wearing her Ugg boots indoors. Ellen had called her mother in the morning. She'd sent a text to her friend in the day, which wasn't recovered, but the reply to her read, "Yeah, you are getting out early, and thank goodness."
I wonder why the text wasn't recovered. That's interesting, because surely if they could get one from the other side, why could they not get the text that went from Ellen's phone?
I can't speak on what phone that she had at the time, but if a text had been deleted off a phone, sent messages, it is gone for good. But surely that received message would be on the recipient's phone.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Sam left the apartment at 4:45 p.m. and the last known keystroke of Ellen's laptop was at 4:46 p.m.
So with the keystrokes, would something like your screensaver clicking in, would that count as a keystroke, do you think?
I'm not sure because every device is different. I know the activity on a MacBook is from any time the sleep mode is reactivated. So whether you have just a screensaver and just reactivating whether a press of a button or a swipe on the keypad, but sometimes it is just typing a button is a reactivation.
Because that kind of changes things, doesn't it? Because if he left at 4:45 and then the last known keystroke on Ellen's laptop was at 4:46, we know that then she touched that laptop at 4:46. Okay.
There were no footprints noted on the balcony in the snow which covered it, which suggests no outside intruder. The door lock was one of those long triangular shaped ones which are known to lock sometimes by mistake when the door is slammed. In fact, the building owners later replaced all of these locks in that particular apartment block for that exact reason.
Wow. Okay. So we know those locks are dodgy.
But what happened to Sam? Well, as Ellen's death was ruled a suicide, he's been released. However, the autopsy was revealing some strange things. Ellen had over 20 stab wounds to her body. Some were just millimeters deep and some inches deep. There had been a lot of attention paid to the stab wounds on her front, but Ellen Greenberg also had stab wounds in the back of her head, neck, and shoulders. She also had various bruises on her body that were at different stages of healing. Now, a section of Ellen's spinal cord was sent to a specialist as the medical examiner had suspicions that something may not be right. The section of the spinal cord was later re-examined, and it showed that if Ellen had stabbed herself in this area, it was highly likely that the injury would have caused her extreme pain, reduced motor skills, and almost certainly would have caused her to pass out. So if that was the case, how did she then stab herself in the chest? Did she fall on the knife, as Sam had said when he found her? Or was there someone else carrying out the attack? This critical piece of analysis was never made available to the police. Other things would also seem commonplace at any other crime scene were simply negated in Ellen's cases. The bins were emptied on the following day, which may have removed evidence. The reports were mixed as well at the scene where Ellen was found. Some said there was lots of blood, others said there wasn't enough compared to her wounds. Now, have you heard of luminol before, Nikki?
Well, yes, I have. So luminol is a chemical that can be used to highlight blood. So if you clean away blood, it may look like from the outside that it is entirely clean, but if you put luminol on top of a cleaned up blood stain, it will come up with a UV reactive substance. So when you use UV light over it, it will then show up a blood stain. So even if you clean things away and people have tried to get away with murder, then you can see that actually the luminol will always reveal that something was there before.
Well, that is spot on. So there wasn't any luminol used to see if there's been any attempt to clean up any blood. In fact, when Ellen's parents hired a private investigator to help them get to the bottom of things, they were certain that Ellen had been moved after she had died. And remember that 911 call? Well, Sam had said he found her lying on her back. There was also a scratch on her face in which the direction of the blood had dried, falling from her cheek towards her ear, not to her chin as you would expect if she had died sitting upright. Some searches were found on Ellen's laptop later, which had been made before her death, some which were important: suicide methods, quick suicide, and painless suicide. What we do know is that Ellen's medications were found in her bloodstream when she died, so she had been taking what she should have been for her mental health conditions. Now, we don't have time to go into all these details, but basically all you need to know is that this case has never rested. The neck wound theory came back around 4 years after Ellen's death, and a new report was given to the police saying that she couldn't have inflicted stab wounds to the neck herself. One of the medical examiners was called into questions after he received several counts of basically not being able to do his job properly on many cases, as well as this one, missing out vital condemning evidence which would have proved definitely that this was homicide. But Ellen's parents haven't given up. They believe their daughter was murdered. They have continued dedicating all their time, money, and efforts into getting justice for their daughter, spending hundreds and thousands on independent experts. They have worked with external investigators and medical officials. One ruled that Ellen's postmortem showed signs of strangulation. Now, all we know is that you can't successfully strangle yourself to death with your own bare hands, so this does consistently show that something is not adding up. They filed a lawsuit against the coroner and the medical examiner, plus the forensics team in 2019 for negligence on their daughter's case. However, the pandemic interfered with the case going ahead, so it was deferred until the year 2022. And then it was deferred again and is only in 2025 just being heard in the courts, but has also once again been deferred, waiting on a report which should be coming out sometime in October 2025. Now, there is a little bit more to this case, so for the extra long extended edition, make sure you join us on the Patreon, where the longer version of this episode is right now. So for the rest of you all, this begs the question: did Ellen Greenberg really take her own life, or have the subsequent independent experts been right that this was indeed homicide? So where has Sam been for all these years? Now, Sam initially stayed in contact with Ellen's parents, but over the years, the contact dried up. When asked to assist with investigations and the court cases the Greenbergs had been working on, Sam has not been involved. Sam got married in 2014 and has a daughter. He also has a sports podcast called Bulls Sometimes Lie, in which he and a friend of his, he's known for about 20 years, actor Adam Pally, spoke about the NBA. It only lasted a year. Now, do you remember that era of everybody having a podcast during 2020? The most
Yeah, I do.
COVID thing I've ever had in my life.
It really was. It really, really was.
Sam also did give a statement to a CNN reporter about Ellen Greenberg's death, which the reporter believes is the only official statement that he made on the matter. When he replied to an email in request for a comment, it reads, "When Ellen took her own life, it left me bewildered. She was a wonderful and a kind person who had everything to live for. When she died, a part of me died with her. Unimaginably, in the years that have passed, I have had to endure the unimaginable passing of my future wife and the pathetic and despicable attempts to desecrate my reputation and her privacy by creating a narrative that embraces lies, distortion, and falsehoods in order to avoid the truth. Mental illness is very real and has many victims. I hope and pray that you never lose someone that you love like I did to a terrible disease and then be accused by ignorant and misinformed people of causing her death. If you're really writing a truthful story, dig deeper and please do some good by raising awareness for mental health. Best, SG." If we do have an update, as I said at the top of this episode, it will be in this Friday's Spooky Sleepover. So make sure you join us then. But that was the case of Ellen Greenberg. Now, that was a lot, Nikki. How are you feeling?
The immediate thing that springs to my mind is the internet searches that were on her laptop. So quick suicide, painless suicide. But then you stab yourself over 20 times and manage to stab yourself in the back of the head and neck. That would be really difficult, really, really difficult. And I would be interested to see those post-mortem results as to how deep some of those wounds are on her neck, but it interfered with her spinal cord. So that's pretty deep. And that would have then upset her motor skills, so she wouldn't have been able to deliver that final stab wound to her chest. That sounds, in my opinion, to be homicide. It sounds like murder.
Well, I'm very intrigued to see what information comes out in these new hearings, because if there is one thing we yearn for on this podcast is justice. So the fact that a case from 2011 is now coming to light yet again, all these years later, almost 15 years later. So my thoughts, my prayers, and my love goes out to the Greenberg family. And I truly hope Ellen can finally rest knowing that we have results.
Poor Greenbergs. I just feel so sorry for them. And to go through this for Over a decade is awful. And yeah, as you said, Shez, our hearts go out to them, and hopefully they get the justice that they deserve. Hopefully we have an update for you.
So we may never know what happened to Ellen Greenberg, but what we do hope is that one day her parents can find peace. And I'll leave you with this. Sandra, Ellen's mother, said that in the apartment there were signs which may have suggested she was planning to leave despite the awful weather. She had filled her gas tank. There was a packed makeup bag at the sink and a large scarf laid out as if she was going to take it with her. In the flat, she was known to never wear shoes indoors. After all, we know she loved a clean and tidy home.
Well, I think that all speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Truly. Coming up next time on Killers, Cults and Queens.
We'll be exploring the strange tale of the last woman tried for witchcraft in the UK. And we're not talking way back in the 1500s, we're talking during World War II. It's the remarkable trial of Helen Duncan.
If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. That's all for this episode, and we'll be back next Monday with a brand new case.
We want to hear from you. We'll be discussing your thoughts and theories this Friday on the Spooky Sleepover bonus show. So pop us an email at killerscultsqueens@gmail.com.
Or DM us at Killers Cults Queens on Instagram, leave us a message or comment on Spotify or YouTube, or send us a message on Patreon, because we want to know exactly what you divas think.
If you've been affected by any of the themes in this episode, please have a look at the description for lots of helpful resources.
Remember, you can watch our full videos on YouTube and join the exclusive community over on Patreon at patreon.com/KillersCultsQueens.
See you next time, and don't be a killer or join a cult.
Just be a queen. Goodbye.
Goodbye.